Hello and welcome to another Plan With Me video. It's the beginning of a new quarter, which is crazy because I feel like I only started the year last month. So, new quarter, new cover, just to change things up. For this month's theme, I've been obsessed with a color blocking mountainscape, and using Pinterest, I found some inspo and reference images. To create the cover page for my month, I'm using Procreate, but with some patience, you could definitely do it in the Goodnotes app too. First, I sketch out the design. I found the mountains very intimidating to draw, even though they're organic. I think getting the mass and 3D aspect is pretty challenging, but using this mountain sketch as a reference has helped a lot, and at least I can figure it out in this sketch phase. So from what I understand of this mountainscape is that it's some jagged lines, and it helps a little bit to think of it like a pyramid, so shading one side creates that illusion of depth. On a new layer, I roughed on some color just to make sure they all work and went with a pink trail and sky because why not? For my sketch, I wanted a bit more sky, and then I lowered the opacity to use it as a guide. I'm going with the All-Star Procreate pack with Steph's sketch brush, which I'll have linked below. I think it just has the best texture and opaque level. I think the colors are what make this illustration work so well, but it's a really simple style. First, it's just layering the flat colors, and then you'll see the darkest color from the palette just makes it look all cohesive. To integrate the colors better, I let them run into each other as grass, I suppose. It's not something you'd notice, but it makes each color block look less separate. Now I group all the layers I've been working on for my final piece, duplicate it, and flatten that group so that I'm just importing one image into Goodnotes. You could also export this properly or just take a screenshot and paste the image. For the title, I'll be using my magazine letters freebie again. I've got it linked below, don't worry. Just because I know that the white will pop against the pink so well. From my files folder, I'm just dropping the images straight into Goodnotes. I chose to cover up the title to avoid the repetition and visual clutter. And now, as always, I'm getting the hex codes of my color palette for my pens. If you like this palette, you can find all the hex codes in the description below. I like to bring the month's colors to the second row so that I'm not wasting time when I'm switching between the colors. Using the brush pen on the largest thickness with downstrokes thick and upstrokes thin, I write out this month's quote or reminder, "Have patience with the process," which was funny because I ended up going through quite a process to get this illustration to where I liked it. It's just good to remember that all things are a journey. If you give up too quickly, you won't get to the place where you're finally happy with the outcome. I threw on some trees and birds because I felt like the colors alone weren't enough to make the image and words feel connected on the page. I made little text boxes for all my goals and areas of focus. Unless you have white markers, it's a bit of a novelty to be able to write in white. As always, before April planning can begin, March needs to be reviewed. I use the first 2 prompts of goal check-ins as more of a journal space to get a broad overview of my headspace around these goals and what's been happening. And the life balance rating helps me to see if I've really been slacking in one area. I've noticed my blessings and blocks tend to be the same each month, which is wonderful for blessings but not so great for blocks. I hope you managed to check out of last month and get a new perspective going into April. Honestly, I feel like a GPS that keeps saying recalibrating, but I suppose that's better than waiting months before analyzing where or how we're headed into the future. We're onto the new quarter planning page that gives me a broad overview of each week for the month. Since April starts on a Friday, I don't get much done on the weekend, so I'm going to consider the first week as the week starting of the 4th, which means I'll block off the 5th week block in this area so that I'm not planning for an extra week that doesn't exist. Surprisingly, there are no birthdays for April, but some loose plans and reminders that were made a few months back. If you're not aware already, April this year is the fasting month for Muslims all over the world. The greeting is Ramadan Mubarak, which is Arabic for Blessed Ramadan, and the month ends with a day of celebration called Eid. For my month view, I used the highlighters to recreate a little snapshot of the mountains. It's really rough, but since it'll be small, it works fine. Using Goodnotes' newest feature, the Precision Eraser, which is incredibly accurate, I must say, I neaten up the edges. To make it look like a Polaroid, I make a text box using the preset white with a drop shadow and making sure my selection tool is on handwriting only. Then I cut and paste to bring it on top of the text box. Placing it at a slight angle helps to make it look less digital. To get some color going on the page, I made color outlines and added my neat little to-do text box with a drop shadow to match the Polaroid. I decided to do the same for the day's titles and highly appreciated the quick copy and paste of a digital platform. Since there's a little blank spot for this month, I decided to bring the illustrations out of the box again and add some trees and flying birds. Now a quick look back at March's inputs. I read Ready Player One, watched Severance, which is amazing, and The Atom Project, which was cute. And I discovered Jess Frank's art, which may or may not have influenced this month's theme. And I binged some Nina Cosford sketchbook tours, which are just so beautiful and inspiring to get journal drawing. For my outputs, I followed the Paintable Discord prompt of expressions and drew 30 faces using reference images. It was the first time I've ever finished a challenge and within the time frame, so I was quite proud. Some of my best insights from last month were: all self-improvement must come from a place of self-love, not a place of self-criticism. The question isn't whether you know it, it's whether you practice it. Don't let go of your courage the moment things stop being easy or rewarding. Back to April, I like to separate the weeks on my health tracker and block out the extra day. Then using the same white text box from the Polaroid, I made a little postcard design. This time I used the highlighters as a base and added more details with the pen tool. I realized that it's a bit easier to use the precision eraser when you're zoomed out so that your hand can make the straight line quicker. Then I covered up the titles to match my theme, assigning a color to each. So recently I've been feeling overwhelmed by my schedule because of tasks that are urgent and then balancing those with things that I want to make time for. So I copied a notebook page and pasted it before the week starts so that I can have a look at all the things I have to do, things I need to do, which are slightly less urgent, and things I want to do. Then within these lists, I've separated it into ongoing tasks that reoccur weekly and specific tasks that are once-off projects. I recommend this exercise if you need to reorder your priorities and get a view of things you need to actively be making time for. Then I copied the weekly template to create a really rough guideline for how I'd like to plan my time. First, I marked off what I consider to be work hours. And then I wrote out all the task buckets, so to speak, that my to-do list fits into. Using these buckets, I asked myself 3 questions. How many working hours do I have each week? How many hours do I want to dedicate to each bucket a week? What is the resistance to my plan? Where do I get stuck or undone? I used the week template to create some time guides, but I know realistically I need to be flexible with how I spend my hours. Now going into the week, I made each day its own little landscape with a highlighter to block color and then pen in some details. And with a little touch of pink and blue, it's pretty much done. So now I can show you the final flip through. It was such a fun theme. That little hint of pink just makes my eyes so happy. I've got a free sticker download below for you to enjoy in your planning journey, so check it out. Thanks for sticking around, and I'll see you next month. Bye!